Hello, Bianca. How are you?
Wow. Is there another is there another A? Wow. Wow.
I
Wow.
snuck in. I mean, listen, it says A/B testing in the title. And I was like, nobody said it was the Alex and Bianca show that I could, in fact, just show up and be a default A.
That is true. Let's see. We can make it a okay. Well, we gotta make the A and the B
I was going to
separate.
say, I was just like, this is technically the BA show. And just like,
The
that
ba-
doesn't
the
make any
ba
sense.
the
The Ba
ba
show.
we've had the Burr show. Now, we've had the but yeah, like the AB. Welcome Andrew. Welcome chat. Thanks for joining us. We do have an alternate A. I'm going to call our alternate A by his name, Andrew. Um all A's are welcomed here. So it's thank you so much, Andrew, for joining us. Chat, how you doing? How you doing? Hope Tuesday is treating you well. We're super excited. Let's see. Do we have any notes for future viewers? Future viewers, what do we have to tell you? Um, let's see. Make sure you check out what is it? Twilio update. I watch on 1.5 speed. You'll get that joke if you watch the first episode. Um, but yeah, if you're watching in the future, say I don't know, tell us a joke. Tell us a dad joke. I feel like we haven't had dad joke energy
Oh, hold on.
recently as
I need
much.
I need to text. So, if you didn't know this, there is a dad joke number that you can text that one of the other members of our team, Chris, created. And I think I have it. Do I have it in my phone as dad? Oh no, don't text my dad. I'll be like, Dad, can I please get a dad joke?
Perfect use. Perfect use.
All right.
No.
So here is okay. So I'm going to show this. I'm going to see if it'll show up on the screen. Come on, camera, get in there. Yeah, it's totally doing what I
Okay.
want it to do. That's not
Nope.
doing. Oh, wait, hold
Oh,
on.
oh,
There we
yep,
go.
yep.
So
Okay.
I know that's like backwards for everybody, but it's literally like a text number that you run, and it is called Dad. And so now I have both Dad and Dad joke on my phone. But I'm going to send it a message. Let's go. I need a dad joke.
Okay.
All right,
Very
here we
important.
go. So I think that Chris actually pays for this to like keep this alive as well. So that makes me very happy. I love that I just texted this number and I'm assuming that it's actually going to respond.
We don't know, but we are, we needed, we definitely, so you can either text to get a dad joke or you can be inspired to create your own. But,
I think you can text or email, or maybe he has to spin it up. It's only backwards
oh,
to me. But it's all right because you know what? I had previously texted about some dad jokes. So I've always got dad
oh,
jokes on point.
on deck, on
All
deck.
right, here we go. Are you ready for the first one, Bianca?
I
All
am.
right, here it is. All right. So yesterday, I accidentally swallowed some food coloring. The doctor says
Okay.
I'm okay, but I feel like I've died a little inside. Sorry, let me say that again. I feel like I've died a little inside.
Wow. I see what you did there. You got
Yeah. Hold on.
the die.
I need to
Yeah.
move. I need to move my microphone up so that I stare directly into the camera after these amazing jokes. I can hear the laughter.
For the vibes.
All right, here we
Also
go.
chat.
What do we
Okay.
got? Robertables has got something in there. Robertables.
Mm.
Let's go. Not only a dad joke, but also an engineer and mathematics jokes.
Come on.
Robertables.
It's like freaking come on.
All
No, this
right.
is great. This is great. Thank you.
All right. Last one. This one's good. This one's a question. And Bianca, you're going to have to answer this one. And I feel like you have got dad joke energy today. So why are, you're welcome. Why are oranges the smartest fruit?
Why are oranges so smart? Orange.
All right. The punchline is coming. Because they are made to concentrate. Where's my laugh
Oh.
track? Where's my laugh track? Where is it? Hold on. Oh.
I was not going in the direction of concentrate. You know what I mean? Like,
I know it's not my laugh track, but I'll take the applause.
that was such an aggressive. Yeah. Anywho, let's not get too carried away with these dad jokes. But so what to expect today? So today, we'll be talking. Well, I will be talking. Actually, no. it's a shared stream. We're going to be talking about all things like developer learning. As you know, Andrew is one of our educators. We're past the 90-day mark, and just wanted to get a lay of the land into what Andrew's thinking about as it relates to how developers learn, how they up level themselves. Also, Andrew's been working on just top secret projects on JK, but just like what Andrew has been building, just to kind of serve developers better, and then also just getting the first 90 days at Twilio, 90 days plus. We're at like 4 or 5 months. So yeah, it'll just be a fun day of just building. But yeah, let's do it. I think we can even jump right in. So Andrew, you've been working on this mini top secret project. What exactly is it? And I'll ask you more questions afterwards. You're on mute.
Of course I am, chat. What is the top secret project I'm working on? So we're gonna do a little bit of a like learning deep dive here. There's a thing in the world of curriculum called emergent curriculum. So, if you are out there and you're like, what is curriculum? It is literally from like the Latin term. It's like a path or like a destination. So like we kind of, when we think of traditional learning pathways, we kind of think the same way, that there's like a set pathway that people follow, that's going to drive them where they're going to go. The interesting thing about software development and like just the tech industry as a whole is like, to solve one problem, there are like 15 different ways that you can solve that, right? Or more. Like, honestly, like it's such a unique area. It's kind of like the code is like clay, and you can make like a bowl out of that clay. You can make a vase out of that clay, or you can make a different kind of cup. So one of the things that I've been playing around with for kind of the past 3 months, sort of off the side while I'm doing some of these other pieces, is how can we translate this kind of open-endedness to not only the discovery process of like what Twilio is, but also to the actual sort of developer learning process. So that's like a very vague answer, because I'm gonna slowly give it away to you. I want to drip this top secret project out there.
Where it it makes it more, it adds to the mystery. So I see the all
right. And I'm gonna add some music to our background because I feel like we were missing some vibes. Now we've got them.
Okay. Wow. I didn't. You don't even recognize that the vibes are off until you get them.
I mean, they weren't that off. I feel like we were giving, but I was starting to hum in my head, and I was like, no, we need some some music in the background. One of those. Exactly. I started listening to stream beats when I started streaming, and then they became my like top Spotify playlist item, and I was like, this is not good. Either I need to start streaming more, or I need to find music with words that I can't use on the internet. And then I just added another stream beats playlist. So I feel like I didn't do the right thing.
Like, here we are.
Exactly. Also, I decided today, this is super unrelated, but I was just realizing. So I was like, I can't wear the same thing that I wear every time that I come onto this stream. I'm like, I need to switch it up. You can't wear the red track jacket every day. And I was like, do I have another track jacket in my my cupboard of track jackets? And I'd forgotten that I went to, do you know what MLH is, Bianca?
Major League Hacking?
Yeah. And it actually ties really well. There is a segue here, chat. So I was a speaker at a Major League Hacking event like a couple of years ago, and their speaker like gift was actually like a pretty sweet track jacket. Fun fact, I'm pretty sure that one of the co-founders of MLH is actually an ex-Twillian. Like, I'm like 90% sure. Hold on. Major League Hacking.
Oh yeah, it is confirmed. It is confirmed by... Yeah.
It's John Gottfried, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So anyways, the Twilio connection is everywhere. And for those that don't know, Major League Hacking is like a Oh my gosh, you disappeared. I have so many windows open right now. There you are. Major League Hacking is a organization that helps student hackathon developers at universities across the world to do hackathons better. So like it gives them kind of like the tools, but they also organize like virtual hackathons and stuff like that. And every year they run one of the coolest conferences. It's called MLH HackCon, and they go to a summer camp in upstate New York. And you get a bunch of people going and staying in like a campground and having like sing-alongs around a fire. And then during the day, there's like tech conference, like tech talks and stuff like that. And they do like pitch sessions, and it's just a super, super cool vibe. So I got to go there, and I will say it's not as nice as as the very cozy red track jacket that we have at Twilio, but pretty close. But anyways, the reason I wanted to bring it up was because I think that there's something super interesting about the way that HackCon and Major League Hacking as a whole works, because they're kind of also in this space of like emergent curriculum. Like not every hackathon leader is going to need every single piece of the hackathon puzzle, but every hackathon leader will need some piece of the puzzle. And so you're really just kind of like guiding them towards the resources and tools and all the rest of that they need, which I think is really cool. And if you're a student watching this, or you know students, like go and check it out. HackCon and like just Major League Hacking as a whole is a great sort of like gateway into the world of sort of hackathons at the student level. And the conference is just really fun. And you get the opportunity to see the cool stuff that's going on at all these different universities around the world, which is super cool.
Very, very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
And it all connects. He was an evangelist when I joined the evangelism team. So in the first one, interesting. 90 days. Yeah.
I was asking Brent. Brent was letting us know that he's on his 45th 90 days. Just racking them up. So I was like, when during the 90 days did you connect? So that is early days.
I love that.
No, this is good. Okay.
So that's kind of where we are. So I've been playing around with this notion, and like I'm a big fan. So I remember when I was doing my master's degree, and one of the last classes that I had was with the chair of the curriculum studies department. And curriculum is actually like, we hear it all the time, but like curriculum studies is such like an not unknown field, but kind of like such a hard to define field that this professor actually had to go during the term to present to the faculty of education about what curriculum studies actually was. And to be honest with you, the big takeaway from that class was, we have a view of what curriculum is in our brains because that's the way it's a shared experience, right? We have heard the term curriculum and we've heard the term school, and we've all gone through this same experience. But when you look at it sort of across at like top level, like you take a 10,000 foot view, really at the end of the day, curriculum is whatever pathway leads you to whatever goal that you're going after. And so,
oh, interesting.
Yeah. And so like for most people, and arguably there's a reason that like traditional learning pathways work, like go through a course, do a test, get a certificate. It works. And there's nothing wrong with that. Don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. But it isn't for everybody. And sometimes people need some different things, and it becomes challenging to personalize and individualize learning pathways. If you're going to sort of look at things from that perspective of like a linear pathway. And I know, Bianca, you and I have had a chat about this, like really learning is kind of choose your own adventure. If you look at it at the end of the day, right? Like, yes, you go to the same schooling experience for like 12, 13 years, but then you choose to go to a university or a college or a program to do. And then maybe you choose your own co-ops, and sort of like it branches out exponentially. And to map that for somebody would be really challenging, not impossible. So the question becomes, is the value that you can provide as an educator in the mapping, or is it in the in being the compass so that somebody knows the different directions and which direction they're going? There's this. Yeah.
That's interesting. I mean, one thing that comes up with that is even, yeah, when we think about journeys, yeah, I'll definitely ask you about that later on in this aspect of like journeys and even how it relates to how companies start to think about like, the wild, wild west of their software, their tools. So okay, back to you.
Yeah.
Back to you.
No. Listen, and I feel like I'm gonna go on like I think we've chatted about this too. Like both you and I could probably go on like a very long conversation, each of us by ourselves, staring into the void to chat about education and learning. So please, no, jump in. There's this really great quote by I think it's by Yeats. And it's the education is not the filling of a bucket, but the lighting of a fire. And then there's another one by another poet that's the objective of education is to prepare individuals, the young, to educate themselves through their lives. And so ultimately, what we want to do as educators, as people that are developer educators or educators as a whole, is we actually kind of want to put ourselves out of business. Like that's the weirdest thing is like if you're really good at being an educator, you are going to set people up with the skills that they need to have a growth mindset and to really be forward thinking. And that doesn't even necessarily mean that like they don't need you anymore. It's more that like
Yeah.
you're not leading the path anymore. You are just the compass that they look to ensure that they're going the direction that they want to go, right? You can choose to go north, south, east, or west, but you don't know if you're going that direction unless you see like the stars that are there and you can navigate by that way, or you have a compass or a GPS. So anyways, that's my
That's your spiel.
that's my
That's what
long
really.
philosophical conversation on education and learning.
No, I like it. I'm also chat also curious, what's been your favorite like learning experience? Like when you think about yeah, okay, Robertables had hands-on labs. Yeah, I'm definitely even when I think about like food and cooking, me and my mom like will get into it because I'm like she loves to just like say the thing and I'm like, "No, I have to like because I do think there's an aspect of like repetitiveness and just like doing something over and over so that like that for me is how I absorb versus like if you tell me the thing I'm just like
Yep.
because there's all these like little other sprinkles that happen too. No, yeah, that makes sense, that makes sense.
Well, and I think
Yeah.
if you look at like outside of the and again, we can go down a long rabbit hole here, but we will get back to the focus. Like formal education, the way that we do it now, right, is only a couple hundred years old. Like if you look, there's a great video that's out there, and maybe we talked about it on another one of these streams that we did, which basically shows like an image of like a horse-drawn carriage and a car, and it's basically saying like this is what has happened to transportation in the last 200 years, and then it shows like I don't know a factory, and here's what's looked like, and then it shows a classroom, and it like hasn't changed in kind of a very long time, or it's kind of stayed the same that entire period. And so there is a really interesting reason that sort of we do learning the way that we do it now, of like sort of that rote memorization, read this thing and then regurgitate. But at the end of the day, historically, a lot of the learning that you would do is like you would find a mentor, right? And then you would learn something. You would be like a tradesperson where you would follow somebody around and you'd watch them, and then you'd see how they do it, and then you'd try it, and then you'd not do well, and then they give you feedback to make you do better, but you would like fail and it would be really uncomfortable, and that was just like the goal of it, right? Yeah, absolutely, like an apprenticeship, right?
Yeah, even I mean even in like spiritual texts, you know, lots of lots of like yeah, apprenticeships. It's man, it's so interesting to even see how like these different models around just like how we learn, how do we pick up things. But I think there's probably that space of scale, right? Like if I'm not in community with someone who knows what to do, like how to do what I want to do. So like, are you next to a potter? Are you close enough to a farmer? So then it's like, am I only gonna learn carpentry because that is the only person that is around? So even this, I think even this aspect of like scaling learning so that you're not constrained to just the people around you, because that itself has limitations too. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
like Yeah.
It's so true. 1,000%. I think. But if you look at it like historically, I think that was kind of the way, right? If your mom or dad did a certain thing, you probably did that too, right? Like you would kind of follow in the footsteps of your family members because that's what you were seeing and that was the experience that was there. But you're right, it doesn't necessarily scale to all of the things that we need now. And I would argue that we've shifted so much now that we kind of need to, like, in those situations, you didn't actually need a growth mindset necessarily. You just kind of needed to like kind of follow the process that was followed before. Now everything is changing so fast that like you need to be able to do self-directed learning that's not related to necessarily the thing that you are doing right now. I mean, let's pull this back and outside of like traditional education into developer education. Frameworks and languages are coming out all the time. APIs are changing constantly. So if you just are like, I'm going to become the best JavaScript developer ever, and then some new framework comes out that like eclipses React, and all you've done is focus on learning React, then that's not great because you could have done all the courses in the world, but if you have to go and do a full course or a full degree every time a new language comes out, you're never going to be able to kind of grow in that way. But if you can kind of pick some things out, then it gives you the ability to kind of learn a little bit faster and speed up your learning process each time. Yeah, Roberto was so interesting. Hey, like, yeah. Some people like, surnames were like what they did, which is super cool. Like, I think that there's something powerful there. And like, it was so directly tied to like the things that you were around all the time. So.
No, that is pretty cool. No, it's so interesting because I think we're also, and then after this, I was like, let's dive into the back end, of what you're creating. Schooling, so you're teaching makes sense. So I think it's also even interesting that we're thinking about education, especially during a time like this, where, you know, everyone's like, AI is taking the jobs. You know, that's one thing. And also lots of students, right, haven't really been in the way we've learned, whether it's through people, whether it's through like learning has become way more independent. Like I don't feel like we have the level of community that we may have had in the past around how we learn.
Nope.
That was due to things like COVID or even in the office, right? Like how many folks are like, let's go build together. And it's like, we always push that, you know, yes, we'll create space to do that, but like work has evolved. So I think it's interesting that we're kind of defining what does it look like to learn, grow
Absolutely.
today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. And yeah, it's so interesting you talk about this AI thing. So if anybody isn't following the chaos that is the social media verse in 2025, right now there's a term that you might have heard of, vibe coding. Have you heard of this, Bianca?
Let's see. I feel like I did. Yes. I think there's like an article actually. There was an article in the Information or something that like brought it up. But yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
There's even funding.
There is. Yeah. So vibe coding, for those that don't know, is basically not writing any programming, not writing any code yourself, but basically going and having a conversation with a chatbot and being like, hey, I want you to build me this thing that does this. And so it's all about kind of the vibes and like it's your conversation with this chatbot that is kind of resulting in kind of this end piece of technology. And what's fascinating is that this has become like a huge trend right now. And I get it. I totally understand why, because we've now moved from having to understand syntax to having to understand just like plain text communication. Arguably, I actually think that this is, while I hate the concept of vibe coding, because I think that it's been sort of co-opted for lazy coding, I think the ability to have to communicate in like a clear way about what you're building is a superpower because, and like, this is not a hot take for all the engineers that are watching today. I'm not coming for you, But engineers love to use jargon, and they love to engineers be engineering. That's like the thing that I say to everybody when they're like, what's it like working in tech? I'm like, engineers love to engineer. That's why they do engineering. But sometimes that means that you lose the ability to communicate really clearly with, say, a person who's not in that world, right? You start talking in acronyms and processes, and you start, like, you might say React hooks, right? Do you know what a React hook is, Bianca? Me neither. Nobody knows what a React hook. I don't even think React developers know what a React hook is. But like, that kind of conversation is different than if you have to say, I want you to do this thing in this programming language, and it's going to then end up telling you like, oh, you would probably need to use this technology, and like it just ends up being a lot cleaner. You're not wrong, Robertables. You are not wrong. But people understand vibes. People understand vibes. I mean, it's not who was it that was in the Rick Rubin is the person that's in that was in that blog post that Bianca pulled up. And Rick Rubin is famous for like not being able to play music, not being able to produce music. He just like finds people via vibes. And that is like the fact that he's coming up there makes so much sense.
It aligns to the vibes. There's even this like aspect of just like what is it? Yeah, like just kind of like the intuition, the energy. But I do think it goes into now I'm getting a little filled.
Let's go, Bianca. Here we go. This is what we're here for.
Okay, so what comes to mind is like there's sometimes even with the flavor, with the taste, right? I love food. I really do. And I think sometimes it's like, no, I'm looking for this exact thing. And it's like language can sometimes be a limiter, but it's like if you can create the vibe of just like, this is the vibe I'm going for. So like, you know, I want a little umami. I want a little sweet and savory. I want a little, you know, and I think being able to configure vibes are not all bad, you know, but I do think the ability to kind of configure something in a way that sometimes isn't always what is presented to you. So someone's like sweet, savory, but then it's like, well, what if I want like salty, but also like just kind of playing around with different flavor types or flavor profiles. I think food to me does a fun job of just like melding in textures, melding it. So I think even this aspect of like, maybe what does it look like to create richer code, right? Like, what does it look like to expand how we're approaching building things? So I think there are possibilities here.
I love this connection.
This is my possibility dance.
I love the possibility. Yes, that's it. I feel like now I need to find my own dance, but it won't be for possibility. What will it be for? I'll figure that out. But I do think the cooking analogy is really good, because if you look at cooking and learning, especially in code, right? Like technically, let's say you want to build a website, right? Like you can go and just download a template from somewhere and like have a website in 2 seconds. And I kind of look at that as the equivalent of like, let's look at a pizza analogy. You like go to the store and buy a frozen pizza, or you go to the pizza store, and then you've got like the people that really want to like understand how it works. And so they find a recipe and they read about the recipe, but maybe they don't make it. And for some people, just reading that process is good. But a lot of people are going to have to go and make that. Some will buy part of it, right? Some of them will use a template, but then they'll update it. It's like going and using like a frozen pizza crust. Some will make the dough from scratch and the sauce from scratch, right? And like you can look at these things, and I feel like there's this interesting analogy between this idea of cooking, which is a creative art form that also serves a purpose, and coding, which is a creative art form that also serves a purpose. And like there are so many ways to learn how to cook. And so, yeah, sometimes you go off the divan by what's modernist pizza?
Now we're gonna find out. We're gonna find out. We are going to.
Oh, it's a book? Oh, it's a podcast? Wait, what? An epic review of modernist pizza.
We are going on an adventure to discover.
Oh, it's a book series, a 3-volume epic by the Cooking Lab's Nathan Mirvald and Francisco Migoya, all about the history and making of pizza.
All,
That's
all
fascinating.
told through in-depth interviews with the book's co-authors and people.
That's kind of cool.
Modernist, modernist.
Is there
I
a
didn't even.
postmodernist pizza too?
It's like there's a podcast, there's a gallery. Oh
I
wait,
love this.
I don't know.
I love
Oh,
this so much.
okay. There's products. Wow. There's a note card set. Wow. Wow. Okay. There. Oh, wow. There's a pizza calendar. Wow. Oh, okay.
I love that
Wow.
that is the most Chef Brent thing I've ever seen.
Wow. Wow. This is just now I feel like you just discover modernist bread because what is they're just wow. This is an ecosystem. This is like a pizza ecosystem.
I
Um
I kind of love that everything comes back to Chef Brent. Like inevitably
yeah, it does.
it's all about Brent.
It's not 6 degrees to Kevin Bacon. It's 6 degrees to
Chef
Chef
Brent.
Brent. It's just wherever you go, Chef Brent will be in the convo. So, who needs Kevin Bacon when you have Chef
Who
Brent?
needs Kevin Bacon?
Oh my gosh.
Look
the
who's here.
squad.
The
The
OGA has arrived. I love that two of the people that are in chat right now are literally on vacation today and they're rocking into A/B testing.
I feel honored. That's deep. That's deep that, they will use their good old. I mean, I've done it too.
Same.
Okay, don't tell anybody, even though this is being recorded. I don't know why I'm whispering as if this is not being recorded to be shared on YouTube, Twitch. But like sometimes when I'm like, no, I'm not working, but like I'll have stream energy. I have stream energy. I just don't have I was like, I have stream energy, but I don't I'm full out of office energy.
That's
I
fair.
ain't got energy to talk to y'all on Slack, but
I
for
love that.
stream invigorates. So yes,
I'm the
thank you
same
for
way.
joining us. Thank you for joining us, y'all, on your leisurely time. Like that is heart. I don't even know if that's a heart. How do
That was a
the
heart.
kids
No, you
do
got the kids.
the
The kids do it like this, don't they?
they yeah, they do like some new stuff. Like they use some they
Hold on, I need to go. I'm gonna Google like hand gang signs for love. Gang signs for love. This is not gonna end
Keep
well for
going.
me.
ITO flag.
Yo,
So
there
let
is
me
actually. So this is apparent. No, I don't want to. I'm not gonna flash gang signs on stream. That's gonna end poorly
no.
for me.
Good call. Good call.
Oh, here we go. This one. There's like some weird. I don't
Oh
even know.
yes, it is like a heart. Okay, okay.
Oh man, hold on. Hold the phone. Let me share my screen because you know what?
Okay.
Twitter be twittering today and it be twittering in the best way possible. Share screen, share tab. I need just this tab. Look at all of
Okay.
these awesome
Hearts.
all of these awesome ways to do hearts with your hands. You're not seeing them, but now you are.
Wow.
There are so many ways to do this.
I'm so.
This is the one that I feel like I'm kind of here
Just
for.
gonna take it old school. Yeah, it's just not Brent. Heart hands are old. Whatever. Is this what I get for calling you mature, Brent? Is this what I get? Now my heart hands are old. Wow. I feel offended.
I do like this one. This one's kind of fun. It seems
Okay.
I'm learning my hands are old. Some of these look like they're profanity.
Right, I know there's the ones in the K drama that I've seen. I don't know what this means, but it just the K dramas they usually have good ones too. Okay,
Oh,
now
I
we
love
know.
it. All right, so there we go.
All right, we learned. Did we learn? See, this was an immersive. We learned
This is
something.
absolutely emergent curriculum. This is it.
Wow.
So let's jump back. Yeah, so we got off track there, but in the best way possible.
We're back. We're back.
Yeah. So emergent curriculum, I think, is really cool, but it doesn't scale. It's really, really hard to scale. Emergent heart gang signs. Chef Brent's got something that he's sharing in chat. I don't even want to open. I'm worried about sharing links, but I do like emergent heart signs.
Okay.
So yeah, this is the thing with emergent learning is like it doesn't scale very well. So how do you do it well? And I actually think that tying everything that we've been doing together is that AI is actually a incredibly powerful tool on both the curation and the kind of support learning process, trying to make you feel younger. This one, wait, heart. We heart you. I can't. This is, my hands hurt. I feel like
yeah. Not gang signs. Just that's the banner.
No gang signs. No, hold on. Let's get the banner up there, Bianca. I showed you how to do it. We are not gang signs.
Hold on.
My arthritis. Yes, this is it. That's exactly. I'm like, oh, my fingers don't bend that way.
Okay.
Click the link.
Hold on.
We're getting the link.
I have to do the okay, we'll multitask.
We got this.
All right, great. So this one, as a reminder, we're not
if you want to clip something, Chef Brent, this is the one. This is the moment. That's the moment to clip. It's not gang signs, y'all. It's just a coding stream.
No context. Just no context.
I feel like we could do A/B testing. How do you do a B? There's a B. Hold on.
Well,
that's like a B.
It's just an A, not.
Oh, yeah. That's an A. We got it. We do whole body. Do we make our entire bodies into these shapes? Hold on. I'm on the A. I gotta do the A because you're the B. So this is it. This looks like an A.
Okay. Okay, we're done. We're going to get back to,
we're gonna get banned. That's what's gonna happen.
Great. So wow, we started off so well.
We did.
And then we're throwing gang signs. Great.
So
okay, back to emergent or immersive.
Awesome. So yeah, I think AI is kind of the superpower here. So there's a couple of platforms, and I think this is maybe a transition as we kind of start looking at some code into some sponsored, not sponsored stuff. Bianca, who is our drink brought to us by today?
Our drink is brought to us by, hold on, I don't know if it works. Okay, I don't know what I'm clicking. All right, today's drink is brought to you by Ninja, the blender, and it's also brought to you by, what else is this brought to you by? What else did oh, dragon fruit. Dragon fruit has become my thing. This is a dragon fruit mango with a little collagen. Let's see, what else we got? Wait, you went away. Okay, so this is we have a dragon fruit mango smoothie, and then I've been kind of obsessed with these kettle cooked chips. It has to be kettle cooked because if it's not kettle cooked, it's a less superior chip. So thank you for indulging my sponsored, not sponsored. Okay.
I love it. Oh, look at that. The terrible camera. Let's get back to the better one. Okay. I love that. If the chips aren't cooked, you're cooked. That's the message there. I came prepared for sponsored, not sponsored today, but I already finished it. Today's sponsored, not sponsored drink is brought to you by Montelier Carbonated Natural Spring Water, the cheapest natural spring water at my grocery store. Because what are we? Frugal. That'll be my dance. The frugal dance.
The frugal dance. Montelier. Water.
It's good though. I started watching Ted Lasso, which I'd never seen before, and I was like, why would I want to watch a soccer show? And the first thing that happens, spoilers, in the show is like he lands in England, and he drinks water, and it's bubbly water, and I feel like in North America, we do not drink enough bubbly water. We're just getting started with our bubbly water craze.
Wow. Very important.
It is. It is. And it's also brought to you by breakfast sandwiches, which I scarfed down between meetings this morning and now, and the best food in the world. You know what? I will stand by it. If you don't like breakfast sandwiches, like, do you even live life?
Well, you and Frank should have a chat because Frank is not a sandwich. Frank is
what?
He's not a sandwich. Yep.
Frank,
I know.
I'm gonna cut. Hold on. Let me take this microphone off the stand. I need to. Frank, things are about to get real. Hold the phone. I need to have a conversation with you, Frank. All right, here's the Frank. Sandwiches are breakfast sandwiches. I will say this: not all sandwiches, but breakfast sandwiches. That's proof that God loves us and wants us to be happy.
Wow.
That's why putting eggs with bread, cheese, some sort of a meat. You can do it vegan. You don't even need the eggs. You can literally just have bread with some like vegan cheese, some vegan sausages. It's just the best. It really is.
Wow.
Sorry, I have a lot of strong feelings. I started when I was we're getting off track here again, and then I'll get back on track. When I was traveling so much in my previous gig, the thing that I would do is anytime I went to a new city anywhere in the world is I would find the top rated breakfast sandwich place. And like, no matter where it was in the city. So like I went to Berlin and I went to like 45 minutes from where I was staying in my hotel to get a breakfast sandwich. And so now I just have a bunch of photos in my my photo reel that are just me standing somewhere eating a breakfast sandwich. And I cannot use them for anything. So today is also brought to you by breakfast sandwiches around the world.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's good. Okay, so all right.
We
so
set the stage.
We did set the stage. So we talked about learning. We had some context around learning.
Yeah.
Took a little sponsored, not sponsored break. So yeah, let's dive into the back end. What are you building?
What am I building?
I've heard there's a build.
There is. So let's get
oh gosh, did I?
Let's get our screen up here, and I'm gonna see if so how many different tabs do I have open right now? I have 20 tabs on this one.
Wow, I was guessing at least like a good 20 or 80.
Do you not though? I worry when I close tabs. I'm like, I'm gonna forget that this document ever existed.
Well, yeah, that's why then you have to determine if it needs to be favorited, and that's like I found that has helped.
Sorry, we're going to close them now. I got some Signal stuff. If you haven't heard, Signal is coming up. Get your ticket. It's going to be awesome. I know a guy who's going to be speaking there. It's this guy right here. I also know, I know somebody else is going to be speaking. That's right over there.
You know all the people that are speaking.
I do.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure after this stream, I've got to go send some congratulations messages to a bunch of people as well.
Oh my God.
Okay, so we got all those closed. I think these ones I can close as well. These ones have been open for like 2 weeks. So the fact that I'm closing all these things down is scary to me in such a deep, deep way. Oh my God. How many windows do you think I had open? Because I'm realizing that I had...
definitely like at least, I feel like 5 or 6.
So I had 5 or 6 windows, at least 10 different tabs, but up to 35 different tabs in each one. I have never been so impressed by Apple as I am today. We're closing down everything, chat. Like there are things running that I had forgotten even existed, but I am not doxing myself today. Do not disturb until the next event. All right, so I think we're good here. I've just got this guy open. Let's
Frosty Tools,
screen share.
While you're figuring, Frosty Tools is wild. It's like even just as easy as making a finger heart. Wow. Frosty Twilio bot never ceases to amaze. I'm impressed. Okay. All right, Andrew.
Let's get it up here.
So,
first off,
let's
let's zoom in. So this is not actually showing anything. How do I get out of full screen? Oh, come on, come back. There we go. So, by the way, I gotta say window management in Mac is a game changer. Like, I don't know if you know this, but like the most updated one, you now no longer need to go full screen. You can just like drag and then you can have things show up in front of it. So, all right, so we were chatting about AI. So AI, obviously a huge change here. A lot of people are using AI in the wrong way for learning, right? So when you go through teachers college, one of the things that they always say is ask a question and then leave time for the learners to answer, but never just give them the answer. Ask more questions that get closer and closer down to the ultimate answer that you're wanting for. So if you wanted to know what the capital of Canada was, you might say, what is the capital of Canada? And there might be crickets. And then you'd say, well, I'm pretty sure that it's in Ontario, right? And then you might say, isn't it like... it's not Toronto. And each of these is like slowly giving something away to help these learners kind of get there, but it's never giving somebody the answer. It's always sort of guiding them towards where you want to go. And it's a thing that is a challenge for AI, because the way that AI is built right now, or generative AI that we're using a lot in like Claude and ChatGPT, is you put in a question and it gives you the full answer, right? It doesn't say, go and look here to get the answer. It doesn't say, let's figure out kind of what you're actually trying to look for. It's not a conversation, really. It's a one-way, give me this thing. In the same way that we got used to using Google, it was very much the same way. So one of the big things that I've been looking for is different ways that AI is being used that is not in sort of that just a transactional experience, right? That it is a two-way street, a conversation and an experience. So Bianca, yeah, you did mean to pull yourself off. Okay. No, you're good. You're good. As I was sort of exploring this idea of, okay, we want an AI that's sort of there and it's helping to guide you, but not necessarily sort of giving you the answer right away. I was also at the same time looking for some different ways that AI was being used really well in sort of these learning experiences. And so there's a couple of awesome startups that are out there that are using AI as kind of the learning process. One of them is called, and again, this is another sponsored, not sponsored. It's not Insightful. Hold on. Let me find the name. It is Grader. Where is it hiding? AI Timely Grader. So this is an AI grading assistant. So this is an interesting take on the concept of AI being used in education, in that it's not ever meant to replace the human, but it's meant to assist the human. And so in this world, it was sort of a tool where if you're in a university class, every professor has TAs. But most of the time, that professor is not going to trust that TA to make the final call on anything. They're going to sort of say, hey, go and then give it to me for the final sign off, right? We've used AI in the learning way, assuming AI is a teacher. AI can never be a teacher because there are these gray areas that exist within the world of teaching that are never going to be able to be solved. However, AI is really good at certain things. It's good at sort of automating some of these tasks and being able to sort of say, like, based on what I saw, here's what it is. Here's where I think you should go and look to ensure that this is here. And so Timely Grader had kind of set this up to be a like an assistant. So it's sort of like this guide, sort of this concept of like not a sage on the stage, which is like traditional teaching, but a guide on the side, and just sort of like something that can support you as the educator. Now, on the learner side, there's also some folks that are doing some really cool stuff with this. One of them, which actually has some Twilio connections to it, is one called Wilco. And I've talked about Wilco before. Yeah. But Wilco is sort of an AI, assisted learning system where you sort of go in, and I think we've got the one in here for, where is it hiding? It's under partner quests. So Segment actually has a partner quest in here where you go in and it spins up a repo, and then you're having a conversation with a chat bot basically to go through a learning process. So instead of your being in a learning management system, and that's like where you would go into like whatever Blackboard or whatever, or some system, and you'd be presented with some content, and then you'd have to kind of do a reading response or something. Here, it's all in sort of that really common chat environment, right? Which all makes sense? Mm-hmm. Okay. So these are really cool methods, but one of the things that I have believed for a long time, and I've heard from a lot of software developers, and I've heard in the sort of dev tooling space, is that I might need to plug in if my Wi-Fi gets bad. Bianca, let me know if my video quality like drops substantially, and I will have to go and plug in my Ethernet cord again.
Okay, all good.
Okay. Is this idea of being where developers are. So removing additional tools that they don't need. So if you look at the idea of VS Code extensions, right? VS Code extensions are there so that you don't have to go to a separate website to access the tool. There are extensions that allow for you to, I don't know, maybe you're a Jira user. My condolences. And you don't want to have to go to the Jira site to like see your Jira tickets. Great. You can add the extension and now you can kind of view Jira in like a VS Code way, right? It ends up being sort of delivered in that very, that unique tool that makes it so that you are in an environment where you feel comfortable. And I was like, how can we do this in this learning experience, especially for Twilians? So fast forward to two kind of interesting properties. One of them being Twilio Code Exchange, and the other being something called GitHub Skills. And it used to be called Skills Lab. And I think it was like, yeah, you're not wrong, Roberta.
I was like, there's sponsored, not sponsored. There's where do things go to perish?
Yeah.
You know, there's just two levels. There's levels.
It's so true. So sort of with these sort of tools that we're already doing really cool AI stuff as kind of like, okay, there's awesome products that are out there doing it. It was like, how can we do this in like a Twilio way that keeps it in the ecosystem that developers want to be in without needing to kind of build some crazy things? So Code Exchange, very cool. For those of you who don't know what Code Exchange is, basically, if you want to spin up a Twilio like function really fast, this is just a way to do it. So you can go to Code Exchange. You're like, I need to see what a function looks like that will do SMS forwarding. You literally go into here and then you can like log into Twilio, set up your application and deploy it. And it'll immediately deploy it on Twilio functions. And so you will have like a functional SMS forwarding application that you can use right away. And so this is great, but if you go in and you look at the code in here, it's awesome. It's like well-written code. It's got tests, it's got everything. But from like a learning perspective, it's kind of one of those situations of like you go to the store and you buy the frozen pizza, like you get to eat pizza, but like, or you order a pizza, but you're not really understanding how to make a pizza, right? Like you don't know what the dough process, like you don't know anything really about how the pizza was made. Like you can see the ingredients, but you don't know a lot. And so I was like, how could we transform this amazing property that we have already into a learning tool? So then I was looking at something that I'd used years ago. So when I was building out the first boot camp that I had created many moons ago, one of the first things I did, because a lot of these young people didn't know anything about GitHub or Markdown even, is I would send them over to GitHub Skills Lab at the time. And I'll zoom in here a little bit. But basically, these skills labs are repositories. And I like the term, and I'm maybe not using it in the way it's used elsewhere, is this concept of curriculum as code. And so right now you've got like infrastructure as code, right? With a lot of these things where like you can define all of the things that you need to run an entire sort of like series of pods and all the rest of that, right? In Kubernetes and even Docker, right? You have like a Docker file, and then that Docker file allows you to like spin up in your own environment. Like it's all this like sort of like infrastructure as code stuff, but curriculum as code, like it's less clear, right? It's less, there isn't anything out there that just lets you kind of like see it written down and just use the repository itself as a tool to learn. It's always like the repository holds information and you go somewhere else to get the instructions. GitHub Skills does something different. So basically, this is a template repository, and we'll actually go and do this because I think it's very cool. And then I'll show you what I've been building. So I'm going to go in here. You can either copy up here, or ideally you actually use this to start the course. This like fills out some template stuff. But you go in here, copy this template repository, skills communicate using Markdown, clone it, create the repository. Amazing. Great. I've cloned a repository, not a huge amount of learning. Now, the really cool and powerful thing about these Skills Lab repositories is actually what's hidden away in this .github folder. So there's two things that are happening in here. The first one is we've got this folder that has steps. And then we've got this folder that says workflows. And we'll focus on the steps first because I think that's the most important thing. So in here, we basically have this step.txt file, which is sort of a file that tells you what step you're on in the process. So similar to like if you completed a process. And then we've got these markdown files, and obviously step 0 is blank, but step 1 is add headers, and it gives you a bunch of instructions and says, here's the information, and now here's an activity that you're going to go through and do. And it's going to say open a new browser tab and create a pull request, a new pull request, and do all these different things. So this is great. Here are the instructions, but they're hidden away in this .github folder, right? Like that's not in my main repository. So like if I went back to skills and look at what I had copied over originally, it's literally going to be the, this repository. It's literally a template. So it should just be showing me this. However, if I jump into my repository now, I'm going to actually see that that repository has changed over to step 1. And that is because of the second piece that's actually kind of the most powerful, which is actually the assessment system, which is completely based on GitHub Actions. So in here, each of those steps has a corresponding YAML file. And in that YAML file, you're defining a bunch of steps. And it's great because you're using stuff that's built into GitHub, and basically anything you can do in GitHub, which at this point is basically anything. You could spin up code spaces, you can make comments, you can do pull requests. All this can be programmatically done from inside of these workflows. And so here, basically what you can see that we're doing here is we're setting that, and it documents it so well, is that every time that we push to a branch called main, then it's going to trigger this function to run. And the job it's going to do, the first thing is going to check the current step. And that's basically this logic here that's looking for that step.txt file. And it's searching to see what step you're on. Because in that file, you would have a 0, 1, a 2, a 3. And then it's going to do some specific things depending on the step, right? So if it's a template or current step is 0, here's what you're going to do. Otherwise, you're going to do something else. And you kind of follow through this process. And so it's going to do specific things depending on where you are in the process and in the workflow. So here, what's interesting is this is like the getting started in this repo. Once you get your head around GitHub Actions, literally every other pipeline works in a similar way. Yeah, absolutely, Robertables. Like it's amazing. So what's cool here is like this action is actually what runs when we forked this template. So when we forked this template, we actually set this to start going through. So it did the check and it saw that we were on step 0, and it actually starts to run a process. And what that process is it checks out the repo so it can read everything. It's going to create a pull request, a branch, and a file, and it can do all of this stuff because it's literally just running in like a fundamentally in a terminal on the back end, right? It's going to create a branch that's called start markdown. It's going to check out that branch. It's going to make a file called index.md. All of those things that you would need to do manually if you were setting this up as a step-by-step process, you can automate through this. And it's going to pull in your secret GitHub token, and then it's going to kind of update to step 1. It's going to follow this entire process. So while here, like do we have that second branch? No, we've got one branch. Do we have an index.md file? No, we don't. Over here, if we go back into here, we've now got our main branch. We've got our start markdown branch. We've got our index.md file. So all of that sort of like setup stuff that you would need to do is already done for the learning process to start. Does that make sense?
So yes, but then that's where some of the drama ensues, right? Which is, I think folks are so obsessed with like, we can't break things, right? This obsession with not breaking at times. I don't know that there is this emphasis on how quickly can we get you to learning. I think at times it can be very focused on like the functionality, like the infra. So I love that you kind of kicked off with like infra based learning versus just like, no, just jump into the freaking code. Like, you know,
I mean, there's this thing in education called scaffolding, right? Like if you look at scaffolding, if you've not heard this term before, think of it like a building, right? Like you don't just, I feel like my signal's got to be cutting out. My quality's got to be decreasing. Getting a warning.
I mean, I still hear you, but
Am I frozen though?
No, I hear every word.
All right, chat. Let me know if chat if my video gets really silly and like the quality cuts out. Let me know. Yeah, this is live.
Yep.
Okay, great. It looks fine. Yeah. So, scaffolding is basically this idea of like, you wouldn't build a building without scaffolding, right? Like you would want to put up the scaffolding so that you can like ensure that it's going to keep the structure that you wanted to do before it's built. Same for learning. Like open-ended learning is great. I'm a big fan of experiential learning where like you kind of go in and you mess around with things. And that's great. And what's cool about what I've done with, what I'm working on, sort of my extension to this, is it allows a little bit more of that, but you still need some sort of scaffolding. That process of going and just messing around with something and getting into the code doesn't work if you don't have somebody that can answer your questions, right?
Yeah, no.
So
I'm also curious, chat curious, just even your POV around like that, and like, do you think the importance of like kind of the like understanding the infrastructure of what you're building on, or just kind of jumping into it, just kind of curious to hear your thoughts.
All right, did somebody get that comment that somebody put in there?
Yep. It
okay,
is.
Awesome.
It's gone.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, let us know, chat. Okay, so the piece with I guess the challenge with the open-endedness, kind of going back to that, is, let's look at a hackathon, for example. I freaking love hackathons. Hackathons are such a powerful thing. Why? Because technically you're not like learning, you're just going into the code. But what makes it powerful is it's actually a type of, what's the term for it? It's called constructionist learning. It's actually like a term in philosophy. It's called constructionism. There's constructivism, which is like learning through experience. And then there's constructionism, which is learning through building. And fun fact for anybody, there's a programming language called Logo, which was created by this like computer scientist educator that was like the father of constructionism, called Seymour Papert. And he kind of coined this term, and it's learned through doing, but that only works if you're in a group of people where you can learn from, and you've got some sort of a mentorship process there. And it could be peer mentorship, where it's like somebody who knows a little bit more than you do. There's this thing in education called the zone of proximal development. And it's where you are at where you are, and there's a certain distance that you can go. And that's like the zone of proximal development, but you need somebody outside of so where you are and where you want to go, you need somebody that's in that sort of like further than where you want to go to help pull you through, right? So that could just be a peer that knows a little bit more than you, but it helps you to kind of get to that place. It's like kind of uncomfortable, but it's like a flow state almost. And it only works that way in these environments if you've got that support. I know when I first started coding, I learned by doing, but I went to forums to get that, right? I went to chat rooms. I went to anywhere that would find me. I think people now that are doing vibe coding are going to ChatGPT to do that. They're not just going and doing code. They're going and doing something and they're like, oh, this doesn't work. ChatGPT, can you tell me why this doesn't work?
Oh my gosh, versus I do feel like when you have struggled with an issue, oh my gosh, there's one time I was trying to, I think it was like the file type, like the file was being stored in an Amazon server versus I needed it to pull a media type from Twilio, but then it was just coming up differently. But like, I remember just being like, oh, once I learned it, like once I got like what was the issue, but like having a friend unpack like this specific bug, I felt like it was much different than if like ChatGPT gave me a solution, right? Because I then understood like what is actually happening. So I do think the infrastructure part is helpful, kind of especially when you're trying to figure out like why did this break and how is it breaking? Because I do think like getting that momentum, getting to building quicker, as quick as possible. But yeah, I think understanding the infra stuff was like, oh, okay, That's why
Yeah.
the lines were crossing.
100%, right? And you could be a software developer. And Abdullah, we'll get to your question, but
Yes,
you can be a software developer and not understand any of the underlying code. Unfortunately, you're going to get to a certain point where you need to understand that. And I think what's so interesting, kind of jumping back to the hackathon concept here, is we all kind of have those friends that are like a little bit smarter than us in a certain way. And like when they explain something to you, they're like, I'm going to explain it to you like you're 5. And they kind of like try and like show that they're so much smarter. And it actually goes so down to this level and so kind of to the base that actually is helpful. You're right. Like understanding the underlying things is super helpful. And if you can combine these things, is understand these things while also having this flexibility to build in your own way, I think that is a superpower. And it's what I've tried to build in to what I've been working on. Abdullah, your question, I got a question. I'm using Azure and Twilio to create voice agents. How can we handle the data even if the transcript and voice goes through Twilio? I think that actually tomorrow, this Thursday, Kaylin and I are going to be doing a conversation relay webinar. And we literally just did a session today, like a walkthrough session of it. And she does actually go through like processing voice data that you're putting through like an external system. It might solve your problem. So yeah, check it out. If you just Google like level up AI assistants, smarter voice agents, you'll find it in there. But it's, check it out. It's free. It's at like 10, it's like this time, but on Thursday. So if you were free right now, then you'd probably be free then too. Not
sponsored, but always sponsored.
Definitely sponsored. So jumping back into kind of the GitHub skills. So this is kind of the way that this works. And every step, there's going to be a bunch of workflows that are triggered. And I realized I wasn't very zoomed in last time. So we'll like look at step 1. So here, this is only going to pull this on the start markdown branch. So only if there's a push to a start markdown branch is this action going to run. So that ensures you're not using these actions all the time. Again, we got these things. We're going to check our current step. Same thing as we did last time. And then we've got this kind of step in here called on commit start markdown headers. And can you guess what this is going to run on? Bianca, when do you think this might run based on the title or the name?
I mean, once you start, like,
yeah, exactly. So it's like when
things off.
Yeah. So basically when you commit on this branch, so on this start markdown branch.
You're such an educator. So let me know. All right, let's make sure, class. Are we following along? Are you with us? No,
you got there. And then it's going to go through here, and then comes sort of the assessment process in these. And so this is actually like a skills action that exists. So we've kind of got these repos of their own things, and then skills actually have some specific actions that they have built to use within their application. And so this is one of them. It's the action check file. And basically what this is doing is whenever you push to that branch, it's going to go through this index.md file, and it's going to look for a specific regex. So this is literally like a regex statement. I freaking hate regex, but like here we are. But basically what this is looking to do is it's looking for the markdown heading symbol. So like the hashtag is the heading symbol in markdown. And so at a core level, what this is saying is look for the hashtag at any one of these levels. So like you could have a heading that's just like the 1 hashtag heading or 2 or 3 or 4. So it's going to do that. And then once it does that, it's going to go from step 1 to step 2. So basically, if it finds it, it's going to do that. Now, what's interesting here is that if you go into the action check file, what's going on in here is it's taking the file, it's taking the search, it's looking through that file. And then if it finds a file, it's going to say found whatever the search term was in file. And if not, it's going to return like something that came through that you didn't want. What's wild here is this seems super simple, but the power that comes in this of what you can do with this response later is so much wider than what they actually demonstrate within these applications. but yeah, at a core level, what it does here is it's going to do a bunch of these things. And then what's interesting, because this is obviously one of the first ones of these that they run, you actually have the ability to make some of these different steps conditional. So there is a way, and it's one that we actually are going to look at in what I've built out, in that you could say, do this file check. If you don't find a header, return false, and then don't move on to the next step. Right? And it's a heuristic and it's not perfect because maybe somebody puts a heading in a different way. But that's kind of the concept here of these repositories is it's all in GitHub. Like literally for this one, you don't need to leave the browser, but you could also spin up like a code space in here. And every piece of this is defined within the system. Track?
Yeah, no, this is good. I will say, Side got a comment from our YouTube friends from Abdullah. It's kind of interesting, this aspect of just kind of learning, not feeling like you have the full breadth, and even just like the need for that like human community aspect. So thank you for sharing.
Yeah. So I will say, I learned to code Angel, PHP Laravel. I learned to build my first app from Laravel CMS. I want to show you the YouTuber because I think it's just absolutely incredible if they're still on here. Not Career Development Lab, Angel, build a blog. Let's say blog. This is another sponsored, not sponsored session.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, I learned how to code a little bit from. I'm gonna find it afterwards. But I learned.
You know who else has really good stuff? Scrimba.
Scrimba does.
Their tutorials were always so like solid, and it's funny because it's like you have the Scrimba. Yeah, they had some good stuff.
I actually got to meet Bob. I went to a conference and I got to meet Bob Zero, who's like the head educator at Scrimba, like very, very cool guy. And I didn't get to go to his session though, which was sad. But yeah, very, very cool company. So definitely go and check out Scrimba. It's free, right?
I believe so. I think they might have some like different things. And I what's actually interesting, because it's like you start off with like your different foundations, right? In terms of like you start off with like your different foundations, but I think these different tools in terms of like helping you to understand like other languages or just like playing around, because so it's like it's just different resources.
It is. So I found the one. I found it. It's called Angel J Academy. And
the graphics are too good.
Like I freaking love this person. He's South African, so he's got this like amazing accent, and he's so good. Like it's literally, I did this like create a membership blog, and it was like this full course. It's broken down into like there's a version that like you can go to like these different pieces of like set up a model and do a migration, and it's like this scaffolding, right? Like it's, you build the whole thing, but he sets it up right with like explaining the libraries that you're using and like how to clone the repository and like just everything. And yeah, you're like, that's an insane number of steps, Andrew, but it's like, yeah, but maybe all you need to know, and for some of the things I did, was all I needed was nested comments. And so I just skipped to nested comments, and it's like, great. Now I have this free resource that's there. But yeah, there's so many developer learning resources. Coding is a vacuum. Yeah, this is it. All of this. And like, I couldn't have done the coding that I did had I not had like chat rooms or forums or whatever to go to. I gave up on a lot of programming languages because the communities were terrible and it was really, really hard to get questions answered. Stack Overflow is like a really great resource.
Yes.
But honestly, I get vibe coding over Stack Overflow coding any day of the week.
No, yeah. What's actually interesting is I think the underrated aspect of community is that it kind of does force you to kind of get back up again. Go again. Go, like, I think about it similar to like a fitness class. It's like you have the friends that are like, what progress did you make on this? Or did you end up building this out? Or did you take this other class? And I think this within community, or kind of coding in community, there's this like repetitiveness, right? There's this practice that kind of becomes a thing because you're not just doing it for a quick task. That's not exciting.
No,
You know, just being like, all right, I just have to build this thing, versus being like, no, how can I go back to this problem? How can I try it again? How can I explore different parts of it? So I think that, like, that's huge.
absolutely.
Comment. Not me being like, love the comment from Robertables. I don't know what was happening there. I would find a community to learn in. There are many out there. Not that you can connect with. Not only can you connect with other learners, some people love to teach and help others. Yeah,
100%.
I think there's just so much. There's so much value in people, like, in people, and also just. I always say, like, most folks aren't unique. Oh, okay. Now I'm really gonna go on a little
Go, do
learning
it.
tangent.
Do the tangent.
Social media and this learning tangent. So the amount of people that are learning on, we've talked about this. Oh,
We
boy,
did yesterday.
let's
This
go
was like a
into it.
conversation we had yesterday as a team. Yeah.
Like TikTok, right? Like the amount of people that are learning from a place like TikTok. And I do think there is this aspect of just like, it brings another level of community and learning for people that's like kind of different. So I think whether it's like a recipe that I was like, oh gosh, I was like, all right, great, we're good, we're back. So I think that one's actually interesting, which is like social media as a tool of learning. Again, there was an era, I'll forever call it Twitter. There's an era, I feel like Twitter was a place that like folks really discuss topics. You could like learn about something new. I think it's interesting to just kind of see like TikTok's role on like the learning journey. So chat, if you have any thoughts about like where you see social media fitting into the conversation of learning, and how people are able to kind of troubleshoot, debug, kind of curious, just like your thoughts around like where do you see social media like really thriving on the learning journey? So
Love that.
back to
No,
back
no,
to
this
you,
is
Andrew.
us. No, this isn't us. This is an A/B testing. It's not an A testing show. I
Wow.
just want to call it Abdullah. Yeah, I tried to learn how to code for a really long time and could never teach myself until I had a problem I needed to solve. And that was really how I got there. And the first thing I ever coded was like a Google Sheets app, because it was like a lot easier. The UI was all there, and so I just had to like focus on the formulas, and then I kind of expanded from there. But also, everybody that works in tech has got imposter syndrome. In fact, every adult in the world has got imposter syndrome. Well, not every adult, but like all the ones that are sort of in sort of the middle of the what's the effect called where like the bottom end people think they're smarter than they are, and the top end, I can't remember what it's called.
We'll find
Top
find it.
end, bottom end, think smarter. Think smarter than you are.
I think
It's called
also,
the Dunning-Kruger effect. Sorry.
oh yeah. I will say though, one thing that people forget is that you are always learning. You like, and I know that sounds so cliche. Like even today, um, this is a live learning experience. I may or may not break StreamYard, but I didn't. But like so usually shout out to Brent, shout out to Alex. Alex and Brent are usually the ones producing. And today I noticed what Andrew in true educator fashion was like, I'm not clicking the things, you are. And I was like, what do you mean? And then Andrew's like, nope, here's what we're gonna go through. We're gonna go through the main components of what you need for StreamYard. Kind of the things that are important to you. Andrew had me click on things a few times. Andrew's like, here's a little banner here. I was super scared about like, where does this go live? Andrew did kind of support me on making sure we were pushing it to YouTube and Twitch, but like, I'm not a StreamYard person. But today I became one. And, probably the next time, I mean, I will still default to Alex and Brent. But at least now I have like I can maneuver around. And I think that to me is like the other part of learning, which is like, can you maneuver around? Do you know where to find things? Do you know where to kind of just toggle? And I think, which goes back into what you spoke about with like the navigation part. Aw, that's good to know, Alex. I really, because I don't know why it just like, it scared, like, I'm like, oh man, like this is being pushed out. But then I forget that, like, if all else fails, Brent can cut it. So, just remind yourself, Brent can cut it if you start singing while it's gone live. So I think even just like that aspect of, yeah, you just try, you maneuver around. Do you know where things are? Do you know what things do? But I don't necessarily feel like that's an infra conversation. Well, maybe it is
It
kind of an
is.
it
Absolutely, it
is kind of
is.
an infra conversation, but then it's like, but I think there's the infra paired with the action,
Yeah,
right? Because
has
I
to be.
think that, because like, yes, I knew where things were, but it wasn't until I clicked it that I'm now like, oh, okay, I know where to quickly type the banner, right? Like I know how to quickly um what is it? Yeah, access the banner. I was able to tell you that the hearts are not gang signs in a quick way, or even knowing how to like click through. So I don't know. There's some stuff there around like this happy medium between both the infra, but also infra and application. Like, because if you're not building it, like you could be the most well versed person, but if you're not building it, if you're not doing it, but this is where my other tangent goes in. We're just on all the tangents today.
We're here today. This is good.
So this is where I think like sometimes I think this aspect of like learning that's like, well, I know everything there is to know about this person, place, or thing. I'm like, unless you've kind of like engaged or experienced and like, yeah, it I think that's where the whole like, I've read about this topic, therefore I am
Do
an
you know?
expert.
Do you know what's so interesting, Bianca? Is I don't know if anybody's ever told you this aside from me, but you are like an educator in every single way. Because like even what you were just describing there, there's. Have you ever heard the name Paulo Freire before? Is that a name that's ever popped into your head, or into your not into your head, into your life? Probably wouldn't pop into your head.
Into my life. I was like, I'll add it. I'll add it now. Paulo
Yeah. So he
Freire.
was like a I think it was like a South American
Brazilian,
um
yeah.
or Brazilian, yes. Sort of he wasn't even like a pedagogue like he wasn't an educator per se. He was actually like a revolutionary in kind of that world. Anyways, but he's famous for this concept of praxis. Have you ever heard of praxis before?
Yeah, that I feel that I've yeah.
So, chat, if you hadn't, so this idea of praxis is the idea of the interconnected nature of reflection and action. And there's this like great quote that he says, like the paraphrase of it, that is, reflection without action is mere verbalism, and action without reflection is action for action's sake. So just doing something without thinking about why you're doing it is not valuable. You're just doing a thing for the sake of doing it. But also just sitting and reading about something or like thinking about something is just like, it's just, you're doing it for no purpose, right? It's really when you combine the thinking about it and reflecting on it and the doing it that you enter a state of praxis. And I think like true education, we've tended towards more of the reflection without action, and then we go the opposite way on the pendulum, and we
Mm-hmm.
go more action than reflection, and there is like a sweet spot in the middle there. Much like everything, there must be
Yeah.
balance.
Yeah, I mean, you also see it in organizations too, because I think organizations will start to hire like experts. We want the experts, and it's like, yes, but also, like, how is this being applied? Like, you can be the smartest person, but if the insights, the wisdom that you have aren't really being applied to solve anything, what are we even doing?
Yeah.
So yeah, no, that's a good point. Also, I love this. I appreciate this comment from Brent, from the chef of the Brents. Um, much like public speaking, the nervousness doesn't truly go away. It gets easier to deal with. And even as we're having this stream on learning, I think even that aspect of, okay, what's coming to mind? So let me feel what are the vibes that are coming on? What's coming to mind is that like we're at an interesting time in technology. And I think embracing it with an open mind and open spirit around learning, around growth, like I think it's an opportunity right now to kind of get curious, to get open about how we build. So I think that to me feels it feels cool. You know, it feels cool. It feels exciting. There's a lot to build. There's a lot to learn. There's a lot to refine. So yeah, that's kind of what was just like floating.
Good.
Oh, okay, Alex, a little D&D.
They are.
D&D insights,
Yeah.
wisdom and intelligence are separate stats in D&D.
They are.
See?
I love it.
You know?
Also want to call it Abdullah. Thank you for that. Like, that's so sweet. Like, that's so kind. Thanks for being here. Like, I don't know if you're still here, but like, if you are, you're awesome. And
shout out
yeah.
to the our YouTube squad. I always say YouTube is interesting because they'll meet us and not realize, like, some folks will know that we're on Twitch. So yes, this is a live stream that originates on Twitch. But yeah, I think like YouTube is like, you're used to kind of certain content. So
True.
Shout out to our YouTube folks that hang with us, stick with us. Much appreciated.
Love it.
So yes.
Let's jump back into the stuff that I've been working on. So,
Yep.
I liked this idea. That markdown repo is cool. It goes through and looks through a file, but I was like, that's kind of the equivalent of going and just building something without having anybody to talk to, right? But having somebody to talk to doesn't necessarily scale in the same way. And so at Twilio, if you didn't know this, in beta right now, we have this tool called AI Assistants. And so it's basically a wrapper around, I think right now it's just OpenAI, but like it's going to be other things later on. And the idea here is that you can make a really easy to code with AI assistant that you can literally do like calls to a webhook and get some information. And I said, how could we combine this idea of an AI assistant as like a TA, as an educational assistant to help guide you through this process? So I started working on a project that this first like MVP is called Build Hello World. It is they use a bunch of different models under the hood.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. That's good to know.
They're model agnostic. It's agnostic. So just whatever. Yes, whatever.
Oh, there you go. Chef Brent.
Yeah.
Killing it. So here's the idea. So in this sample MVP project, you are trying to say hello world, right? Simple first project. But here's the difference. In a traditional project, it would be a JavaScript hello world project, right? It would say do hello world in JavaScript. In fact, there is a whole website called Hello World that you can go to, and it literally gives you like every hello world example. Oh no, not the Go one. Hello world examples. Helloworld.org. And you can go and see like, what does hello world look like in C Basic or C? And there's a bunch of these that have like an API that technically you could go and you could call the API and you could like do like sort of a parsing to go through and see what's there. But there's at a certain point, there's only so many languages that you can account for, right? And what if a new language comes out? So I started working on this project to make it language agnostic. Not only language agnostic in the programming sense, but actually like language agnostic. So this is not a programming hello world per se. This is a literally put in a file hello world in whatever language you want, and it's going to move you through the process. So here's the concept. You go into this repository, same process as we did before, and then our steps are a little bit different. And I've added some extra things into here. So ignore this original folder. It was just like some placeholder stuff, but we have our steps, we have our workflows, and then we also have this solutions folder. And the solutions is actually a prompt for our AI assistant, which is going to give you sort of the way that you would want the questions to be answered. So I think, like right now, there's some bug here. I must have not pushed something in, or it's in another branch. But the idea here is like, these are plain text prompts that you are using. And as it feeds into the AI assistant, and I'll show you what I have in there in a minute, it's basically saying, take in the file that the person updated, take in the instructions that were provided in the steps, So here's the steps that we had.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is the activity, and return in plain text the response. Now, or sorry, parse in plain text the response to see if they got the question right. Now, in the one that we'd seen previously, there was no checking really. Like it kind of checked, but it didn't really do anything. In our version, it's actually a little bit different in that when you make a change to it and it sends that call over to the Twilio AI assistants, it's actually going to, if you get the answer wrong, it will return a comment into your pull request. So if you go in and you get it wrong, it won't move anything forward. It's just going to give you, hey, you got this answer wrong, and then give you a suggestion on what you might want to change. So I'll show you what this looks like in practice. We'll probably have a bug and we've only got limited time. So I'll show you, like, here's this project that I forked. And if I go into my pull request that I did for my adding hello, you can see here what happened.
Also,
So
let me know if you want it. So right now I could see your window. So
let me make it bigger. Sorry. Okay. There we go. So here, I've got this project. You can see in my changed file, this is actually a new one. I actually put hello in Cantonese.
Okay.
But I actually went through, and the first time I did it, I typed in au revoir in the file, and it returns this, which is like a set logic. So the solution did not pass the validation check. Please try again. But this reason actually shifts based on the response that is being sent back from the AI assistant. So the submission au revoir does not match the expected solution of adding world in any language. Please replace the phrase world in your phrase with world in your favorite example. There's some bugs here that I'm still working out, but this is the concept here. So again, concept here, au revoir does not match the expected solution of saying hello in any language. Please replace the word. And then I got to the final step where I added it in Cantonese, and it's like, congratulations, you completed step 1. Go back to the README and the main branch, continue. Some of this is programmed and will always return the same thing. It's always going to return this, congratulations, you did X. But a lot of it, like the reason could actually shift based on what you put in there. So if you put in, some random thing, it will return correct based on an unlimited number of different variations of the way that you could do this, right? Maybe you write an essay that philosophically says hello. Would it count that? I don't know, but you're going to get the response every time of not just, I got this wrong, which is what you tend to get in sort of a traditional coding learning experience. And then it'll give you like a default answer of why. But the other piece here, and I haven't built it out yet, is the ability for you to respond to these GitHub actions and actually say, explain more, right? Is to kind of go into further detail. Yeah. So MVP is just sort of like getting the feedback, and then there'll kind of be more that's added here. And then MVVVP is I actually want the ability to, you can add, like, kind of like if you're in a chatbot room and you can like at a, say agent, and it'll bring you to the agent, that you could actually go in here and like kind of at an agent, and it would send a text message to somebody that's on call to be like, hey, you just got like a notification on this repo, go and check out the code. And the great thing here is it's all powered by Twilio and GitHub, and you don't need to go anywhere else.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah. So that's super cool.
It's interesting because it's like you have a little supervision without having, you kind of have someone there with you. It reminds me of just like sometimes like folks need just like a little emotional support, right? Like it's like, I'm building this thing, like I don't need you to tell me how to do it per se, but just like presence, that's the word. Like, this aspect of like presence while learning. This sounds so weird to be like, yes, and GitHub creates presence, but I do think there's that aspect of learning of just like, just knowing someone or something is there. Like, it's like, am I doing this right? Is this okay?
Exactly. And like the cool piece about this is because it can be so personalized, you have this ability of like, Right. So, I mean, even looking at internationalization, so much of what we put on the internet is written in English, right? Just because of the nature of what we do in code. And so here you could do all of this conversation. Everything you do could be in a different language, right? And like it just allows you to, this system will meet you where you are at in as much of a way as is possible. And so while this is obviously this is a Hello World example and it's still kind of in the process of being built out, take this and now translate it over to this code exchange model where we have our code and we know what the final result looks like, right? Like we have our function and we know what this is. But like, let's break this down into 4 different steps, right? Like first, you're going to create this exports handler function, and then you're going to need to now create a TWIML variable. And now you're going to need to use the context that comes through into the function and use this forwarding numbers feature. Like that's 4 steps that you can explain stuff as you go and turn this into a learning experience. And what's amazing about this is it literally just ends up being a .github folder inside of this existing repository already. So it's not a new thing. It's really just adding some GitHub actions to something that you're already doing and into a template that's there. Yeah. And so, yeah. And so the other thing that I've had to build with this is some custom actions. So obviously we had that kind of like check file action before, which fed in the file and did some heuristics based on that regex. Obviously, we want to do something different now. And so here is kind of what's happening in our file. So we're sending a couple more pieces of information over to AI assistants. So we're sending over the step. So this is like the step file that outlines like the instructions of what you're supposed to be doing here, the submission, so the file that was changed, the solution file as well, and then it's actually sending a bunch of information to a webhook. Now, this is being updated in the current version. You have to go and create some GitHub secrets and variables. I'm actually re-engineering this so that you don't have to put in any of that information. It's all included inside of the repository, so you just start coding. But I've got to deal with that at some point. And then you've got these outputs of like whatever the assessment is, and then the reason for the assessment. And then you're basically running the same process again. So you're looking to see if there's a step file there, a webhook URL. You are going to go in, you're going to read through the content, and this is basically converting this clean content function basically pulls out a markdown file and removes any like new line formatting and all the rest of that. So it just ends up being like a string that it's reading through. And then you're pulling in all the information. So you're gathering the assessment content, you're creating a JSON payload, you're sending that JSON payload over to the webhook endpoint on Twilio AI Assistants. And then it's going to return the information and kind of save it as a GitHub variable to use in other steps. So this entire check action function is basically sending a problem statement, a solution, and your work over to AI assistants, doing some assessment stuff, and then returning whether you got it right or wrong based on these human readable descriptions, not some weird structured thing, just basic human instructions, and then getting the answer back. And then the other function that I had to do was to create another action that is this comment and merge action. And so this is basically going to be taking the information if you got the assessment correct, and it's going to do a curl request to the GitHub API, and it's going to do a couple of different things. So if you got the comment correct, or didn't get the comment correct, it's going to send you back. It's going to send this body into the comment feed. So basically the solution did not pass the validation check. And then this inputs reason is actually what's coming from the AI assistants. And then otherwise it's going to send you if you did get it right, it sends you the congratulations, go to step 1. And then it's going to actually merge your branch. So if you get it right, it automatically does all the work for you, which is kind of cool. And then you just move on to step 2, and it'll automatically do what it did in our other course, which was update our README to the next step. There's another world of this where I actually want to use issues or projects and have like the step-by-step outlined in like issues instead of in this README that you're constantly having to go into. But either way, it does still give you this ability to not have a separate system that's in there. And yeah, and so that's the project that I've been working on, is this this sort of agnostic learning platform that doesn't require you to have a learning platform, and is a tool that is so focused on you, meeting you where you're at, that you can choose the way that you want to learn, if that makes sense. You are muted right now, Bianca.
Side note, I love that Alex is still providing book recs, even on vacay.
On a beach. He's on a beach right now providing book
Wow.
recommendations.
But the book recs are still here, even on vacay. Love it. No, I like that, and I also think it's like a good, even just like a good segue, as we like a good segue, because this aspect of just like, these platforms will come and go. But I think even this aspect of just like, what does the learning journey need to look like? Meeting someone where they're at, because I do think like not everyone has went through the same learning curriculum. So like someone might need a deeper dive in one area versus another, right? Like some folks might have more of that like foundational understanding, whereas so I think it just kind of takes apart pieces of like, where are you at, where are we starting with you? And it's like another form of personalization. Yeah, it's like another form of personalization of just like, what do you have in the tank? And it kind of reminds me of just like when I just started kind of getting back on like my fitness wave and journey. Like, you know, we just did like a test, right? We did an assessment of sorts, just to kind of see like, okay, what areas are strong? Where are we at? You know, how's your mobility here? Or what are you lifting here? And I think even just that ability to know, like, what do we need to build on? What do we need to refine? Where are you kind of veering off? So I kind of like that reminder. I'm just kind of curious, like, as you're thinking about like Twilio, also, yes, truly go read on a beach. That is very true. I'll be doing that in a few weeks. So you'll have to find another bee, or maybe I don't know, you'll find someone, Alex. But yeah, I'm kind of curious, like, what opportunities are you seeing for Twilio on like how we make sure folks feel empowered and equipped with the stuff, like with all the resources that we have, all the info, all the knowledge. Yeah, I'm kind of curious.
Yeah, I mean, so I've been having a lot of conversations, and I think we all have. If anybody's out there that has ever sort of, there's a support bot that exists out there that we have at Twilio called Ed and Isa. So you might have communicated with Ed or Isa. Ed and Isa are not real. They're trained models that are based off of, or trained AI agents that are based off of our documentation, all the rest of that, to answer your questions. I really do think the future of education here is like, there's already so many people doing amazing education at Twilio that are not necessarily us or the developer education or even the DevNet. It may be folks in that are account executives or are solutions architects. What we really need to do is be able to create a way for individuals to access that information through whatever channel they want. I have this dream. And I think that it will come to fruition at some point in the near future of if you know what a headless CMS is, for anybody that's out there. So headless CMS is basically like a database with like a UI over top of it. But it's not for displaying your content. It's for adding content for like a blog. And then you can use an API call to like a Next site or something like that to show the content that is stored in this database. Fundamentally, it's a database with like a UI layer on top. And I kind of look at like, what if we did the same thing with all of the Twilio education content that we created, and say, here's all of the content we created. That's our database. And here is our, instead of the UI on top being like a visual, like CRUD interface, it's actually going to be the AI agent, right? It's going to be this like AI agent that can communicate using Twilio channels. So it can communicate using text or email or WhatsApp or voice. And instead of sort of the developer of the blog that's out there using this sort of like headless CMS plus Next.js, here you would be kind of the end viewer, but you would be able to choose the technology. So imagine a world where you can send a text message to Twilio, to whatever this is called, our Learn bot, and say, I'm a JavaScript developer. I enjoy watching videos that are under 2 hours long. And I need a way to solve a very specific problem that I have with authentication. And it's going to look through this database and it's going to return, instead of here's the answer to your question, it's going to say, based on all the stuff that you gave me, here are a couple of resources that you should go and check out and practice with. Here's the reflective activity of you going and reading this thing, and then you're going to go and do it. And then if you have more questions, bring them back to me. And then imagine in that same world that you could say, hey, chatbot, every 5 days, I want you to send me like any new videos that come out. And it's all sort of like you communicating in the language and the platform that you choose, but you're accessing the same information. It's really just us giving you a tool to curate it yourself, right? So we are curating, but in a much different way than if we say built a thing that we are tagging manually. Like if we had to tag everything manually, that would be really challenging. But if we can have this ability to combine the tagging process with humans asking questions, it also informs things that we're doing. If everybody's constantly asking for the same things in these environments, like it lets us choose what to create.
It's reminding me of even some of the like kind of early days LinkedIn, like the people you may know features of just like, we're not auto connecting you, but given your network mapping. So it actually started to do so in maps at LinkedIn, we used to let me see if I can find that. In maps, LinkedIn. So we used to have these things called in maps. Let me see if I can find it. Okay, this is actually one of my, I loved it actually. Let me see if I can find it. I'm gonna share my screen real quick. Okay, so we used to call these things in maps at LinkedIn. And it started to kind of find the commonalities between like, oh, I always forget to like actually share it. But just, it would start to kind of group, just like, it would start to group kind of like your network and just like, oh, this is where the connection points are. And I think as you were talking, this aspect of just like where are the overlaps, right? Like maybe there are certain topics that you continue to ask about. Maybe there are certain insights that you're kind of curious about. So yeah, I think that's like pretty interesting of just like over time you start to find like these commonalities. But
yeah, absolutely. And so, I think it's like we can use data. I mean, I think we're very well placed as Twilio. Like we have all of these pieces of information that you provide as a user that we're sort of able to tap into Segment and the way that Segment works really well, plus AI assistants. Like there's just so much power in the ability to like use information that you've chosen to share to make your learning experience better. And now we can just create great content because you're going to find it. It's going to bubble up because you've got this awesome tool that you can use and you can tell it, shut up. I don't want to receive anything from you anymore.
You're like, we're done here.
Right?
And I think it's just finding creative ways to make sure, and we've talked about this in many ways, which is like, how do you make sure people get the things that they're looking for when they need it?
Yes.
And I think, there's some cool opportunities there. Well, Andrew, or alternate A, JK. Andrew, thank you so much for joining today. Chat, thank you so much. Our YouTube folks, our Twitch friends, thank you so much for joining us today. Just as we explored learning, also just kind of curious, like, how do we continue to make the learning journey even better for y'all? So kind of curious, let us know. hold on. And I don't even know. Actually, I might break something, but
No, you won't break it. And if you do,
Hold on.
that's what's meant to happen.
Hold on. Does it work here? No. No. Okay.
What are you trying to do?
Wait, it did it.
I have no idea what's
Discord.
happening. Oh, let's go.
I was trying to
Hey.
do the Discord thing. Oh my gosh, yes, it worked. Yes, breaking things. But you know, that's why I have to talk to my therapist, because I don't like breaking things. I was just like, breaking failure. I was like, I broke it. But yeah, so join our Discord. Kind of curious about just like your thoughts about learning, how companies that you feel like are doing a cool job around just like teaching and learning and just making sure that you're feeling empowered as you build. So it's an important component. But as always, it is a pleasure seeing y'all. And Andrew, you're back, right? You're back for Build-A-Blog tomorrow, or no?
I am. Oh my goodness. I totally forgot that I'm streaming tomorrow. Yeah, I'm back the same time tomorrow. We're going to be building a blog. What blog? That's a great question. We definitely don't know, but yeah, I'll be back tomorrow. And if y'all haven't done this already, head on over to watch the to sign up for Signal 2025. We're back. We're back again. We're back here in San Francisco. I'm going to be hanging out with my good friend Anthony in San Francisco in 2 weeks. We're going to give you some more awesome information about that soon. And then Thursday, Chef Brent is going to be here for the Chef Brent solo show because Chris is away for a week on vacation. Everybody's away. Everybody is away today. It's just you and me, Bianca. You, me, and Carly and Sarah.
I know. We're just really holding it down here. We'll see if this works, but gonna post the Signal if you want to join us for Signal. You'll get a special, call it AB Signal, our short link. So definitely join us. We'd love to see you. And maybe if you don't want to go to Signal, maybe you give somebody the gift of Signal. I know it might be a little pricey gift, but we were talking heart emojis. You can buy a Signal ticket, for a friend, or what have you. We'd love to see y'all. What else? But yes, and then also Thursday. So today you had A/B testing. Tomorrow you have Build-A-Blog, and on Thursday you have the developer lens. I always want to say developer lens, just like that. It's a solo Brent show, but Brent will be holding it down. But yeah, the gift of Signal. So yes, we'd love to see y'all. And as always, meet us in Discord. Tell us what you're building. Also, you remember at the start of the year, we talked about finding the fun. So I want to see what fun things that folks are creating, what exciting things you're building, in your off time. But as always, this was a delight. Hopefully, we'll see you next Tuesday. Not hopefully. We'll see you next Tuesday.
We'll see him next Tuesday.
Eastern time. And cut.
All right. Do you want to throw to the promo? Throw to the Signal